be resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
A very good morning to you and welcome to Global Morning, the weekend edition of Global Morning. My name is Godwin Sunday. Of course, today is Sunday and it is the beginning of a new week for a lot of people. And of course, we thank God it is a Sunday because this is the time where most people around the world are drawn back to their religious fabric, and depends on the proclivity that you find yourself, be it of the Christian proclivity, be it of the Muslim proclivity, whichever way you find yourself in the divide. And also most traditional worshippers also have even inducted the act of worship to their creator even on a Sunday like this. So it's a good time to be alive. It's a good time to be able to say thank you, God, for keeping us alive even till this time of the day. Well, on the show this morning, we'll be trying to look at happenings across the country. But first, you recall that from Monday through to Friday, we had a lot of interesting conversations. And some of those conversations spews around borders around wiki conversation. That is wiki confrontation, that of River State conflict, River State crises, and all of those conversations. Those conversation has made the headways around this period. Well, we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, the show continues in a moment. Please stay with us.
That global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
Alright, welcome back. So, before we went on that short break, we're trying to look at happenings in Nigeria. And I told you before we went on that break that Rivers State took the central stage of last week's conversation. From one conversation to the other, right into the assembly shutting down the gate for on the governor and all of those conversations. Current FCT minister Nyesom Wike was had a press conference where he had to say a lot of things concerning the Rivers State crisis, and of course that took major central stage across the country. But then it's all good, it's all fair, because we begin to see headlines even in the Rivers State polity right now, and hopefully that although the Rivers State House of Assembly have gone on an indefinite recess, and that is they will be coming back. Nobody knows when they are going to resume plenary, but let's see how that plays out. The alternative for Governor Siminalayi Fubara to be able to drive some of his policies and ensure that some of the appointees that he has made are able to still discharge some of the responsibility that they're being assigned to. But in the coming days, we'll get to see all of that playing out in Rivers State. Not forgetting that the week also in focus took us straight to the Senate House, where we saw even in IPU where Senator Natasha and the Senate President Godswill Akpabio conversation is still taking the central stage across even in the National Assembly. Not forgetting also just on the course of the week, we saw the House of Representatives be able to retain the 7.5% VAT that was proposed by the federal government to increase it to about 15% from now till the 2030, but we saw the National Assembly, House of Representatives to be precise, were able to say no, let's keep it at, let's leave it at 7.5, and that was that really added spices to the week in focus. Now, also in the week in focus, we had a lot of conversations that also centers around Nigeria in itself and the general polity that is we're seeing right now. Now, one of the interesting things about the week also, we saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu having meeting with the former PDP Lagos State, gubernatorial candidate, popularly known as Jandon. We saw the president having a few hours meeting. Whatever was discussed in that meeting, of course, we recall that Jandon had left the People's Democratic Party, but of course the reasons were not clear. But we know right now he's no longer with the party and is free to mingle with any other political party in Nigeria. And of course, he had a meeting with the president. What will be the outcome of that meeting? Our fingers are crossed. We'll keep following up on that to see what's going on even across the country. Now, don't forget that even in the course of the week in focus, we had ministerial press briefing, and of course the Minister of Education and the Minister of Aviation were able to explain to Nigerians and talk to Nigerians about their scorecard and what they've been able to achieve so far, where they were and where they are right now. And of course, it's just to give you a scorecard, give you a hint of what they've been doing so far. Of course, the Minister of Education, Alausa, was very specific on some of his educational policies, and it's very clear on what he wants to do and what the government is already doing. Of course, he spoke about a lot of things in the course of the press briefing at the National Press Center, even in Abuja. You can go out there, just find out for yourself what they did even discuss about. Not forgetting also that the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, was also on ground to give some details of what he has been doing, some of the treaties that will be signed by Nigeria and other countries, some that has already been signed, agreement that has already been reached, and what have you even in the course of the week. Now, the week was an interesting week. Of course, on Friday we had what people call the World Sleeping Day, and that brings us to the point where we begin to ask you, how many hours do you sleep in a day? How many hours do you sleep in a week? How many hours do you sleep in a month? Now, of course, to create a balanced system, you need time to rest. Now, because when you find time to rest, you'll be able to build back to whatever point, because your body needs time to regurgitate, it needs time to rebuild itself, it needs time. So relaxation and all of that, a resting period, it's very good for humanity, and also it's very good for our productivity. Now, that's just a tip of the iceberg of what the week in focus feels like. Of course, not forgetting that the week in focus also we saw the Super Eagles of Nigeria, and also their list also coming out, and we hope to see more conversation around the sporting lines even in Nigeria right now. But we know in the days to come we'll be talking about sport even on Global Morning, because we are going to be entering more of sporting season in the days to come, from World Cup qualifier through to other games that will be played in the country. And not forgetting that there are also other conversations that are also on the pipeline of the Super Eagles conversation. But the first conversation around that pipeline is the fact that it has been alleged that the list that was given out for the Super Eagles was not the list of the coach. It was rather influenced by the NFF. How correct is it to say that some of the football decision even in Nigeria has been influenced largely from external source and not from the coach himself, who understands the game and understands what he aims to achieve? Well, that's what it seems, though we don't have the details of that conversation, so we won't delve into it. But of course, this is how the week has been. It has been a very lovely week from Monday through to Friday, and then to Saturday. It was an interesting week because I had a lot of interesting conversation, and I've been able to run you through the week in focus right now, even on Global Morning. And when Global Morning returns in a moment, we'll be going straight to the newspapers to see what the papers are also saying even today. Please go nowhere as the Global Morning continues in a moment. Welcome back. Well, we'll begin with the Sunday's Tribune. Now, above its nameplate here, we have Kano Emir Tasu disputing factions blow discontent and turn. So let me take that again. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Disputing factions blow discordant tunes over appeal court order. It comes with a rider that says Sanusi remains Emir. Kano government orders must comply with court ruling. You can find that story on page 5 of Sunday's Tribune. Alright, so we have a story here that says how African can achieve 8 to 10% growth per year. Professor Jeffrey Sachs. You find that story on page 6 of Sunday's Tribune. That's just above the nameplate of the Sunday's Tribune. Now, the star story here says new POS charges threatens FG's financial policy. It comes with two riders. The first rider here says POS operators laments declining patronage from customers. Second rider says rates getting too exorbitant customers. You can find all of those read on page 9 of the Sunday's Tribune. Alright, we'll have a story here that says Oyo begins bursary award payment to 2,950 students. You can find that story on page 6 of the Tribune newspaper, Sunday's Tribune newspaper, of our Oyo State Governor has begun the disbursement award of payment to 2,950 students across the state and beyond the state. You want to find out that read, you can find that read on page 26 of the Sunday's Tribune. Alright, we'll have a story here that says adopters demand 30 million ransom to free winner of Quranic competition, dad and brother. You can find that read on page 5. Nigerians expect things to change under Tinubu, but ex-Lagos State PDP chairman Shile has come out to say Nigerians expect things to change under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but what is the but? I don't know. You can go out there and get yourself a copy of the Sunday's Tribune, page 11 of the Sunday's Tribune. You can go out there and get yourself a copy of it. Alright, moving on, we have a story here that says Southern Kaduna APC mobilizes for Tinubu ahead of 2024 elections for granting Federal Medical Center. Interesting read. Southern Kaduna APC mobilizes for Tinubu ahead of 2027 elections for granting Federal Medical Center. Page 4, I beg your pardon, of the Sunday's Tribune. Okay, go out there and get yourself a copy. Now, the flash story here says Rivers crisis, Wiki Pandef youth trade tackles. Page 4 of Sunday's Tribune. It comes with a rider. FCT Minister Carpet Group over 2027 elections threat. You want to see that? You want to know what's going on in Rivers State and what Pandef is saying? Of course, you can go out there and get yourself a copy to stay abreast with the news and happenings even in Rivers State. We move to the next paper, which is the Blueprint Weekend. And the Blueprint Weekend, above its nameplate, it says Omokri thumbs up Tinubu strides, mocks El Rufai over Buhari. You can find that story in the page 11 of the Blueprint Weekend. Alright, so you find the story here on the Star Story. It says Amajiri out of school kids, how we are tackling menace by federal government orders. I did mention before now that there was a press briefing, also a media chat where the Minister of Education and the Minister of Aviation were there to talk to Nigerians about their achievements so far. But you can find that story about the Amajiri schools and out of school children and how they've been able to tackle it and what they are doing right now to tackle the menace. You can get that story on the Blueprint Weekend to stay abreast with that news. Alright, my passion for storytelling, Hausa cinema keeps me going. Aminu Momo. You can find that story on page 17 of the Blueprint Weekend. Not forgetting that we have a story here that says towards preserving local languages from extinction. Towards preserving local languages from extinction. You can find that story on page 13 of the paper. We will support documentary on Nigeria's 25 years of unbroken democracy. Will support documentary on Nigeria's 25 years of unbroken democracy. Of course, you can find that read who is saying and who is speaking. You find that read on page 10 of the Blueprint Weekend. Local equity market sustains bearish run, sheds 167 billion naira. That's in business. You find that story on page 10 of the Blueprint Weekend newspaper. Rivers crisis. What next for Fubara? A lot of questions begging for answers. But you can find that read, perhaps you to know what next for Fubara right now on page 25 of the Blueprint newspaper. Not forgetting that we have a story here at the foot of the paper. Says Natasha's petition to IPU dead on arrival. Jimo Ibrahim. Well, what does he know that we don't know? Or what does he know that you don't know? You can find that read on the Sundays, the weekend blueprint, also on page. You can find that read on page 11 of the paper. Now let's move on to Sunday's Punch. Let's get punchy even this morning. Well, it comes above its nameplate. Nigerian pushing hungry youths towards revolution. Nigeria pushing hungry youths towards revolution. This is coming from ex-president Olusegun Aremu Obasanjo, and he's saying that Nigerian is pushing hungry youths towards revolution. You can find that read on page 3. I know the former president is one very outspoken person, and of course he always put Nigerian first before personal interest. So he always speak out when the issue borders on Nigeria, and he has come out again to speak that the hunger in the land is pushing the youth towards revolution. But how true is this? How correct is this? You can go out there and get yourself a copy to know the angle that he is even talking about right now, and what how the hunger level in the country even as it stands today. Alright, so we have also above the nameplate says Ashake's deep kept secret, conflicting stories of Isaleko top musician's childhood. You want to find out about Ashake and some of his story, conflicting story of Isaleko. You can find out all of those stories on page 28 of the Sunday Punch newspaper. Now we have a star story here that says Niger begs Nigeria for petrol. Okay, Nigeria begs Nigeria for petrol despite tense relations. Fuel crisis. Nigeria begs Nigeria for petrol despite tense relations. Page 3 of the Punch newspaper, and it's a star story. It comes with two riders. The first rider here says fuel sells for 8,000 naira per liter in Nigeria. The other one here says Nigerian sends 13.5 million liters of petrol to Niger. Interesting read. Let me not let the cat out of the bag. You can go out there and get yourself a copy. At least I begin to give you the tips of what the papers are saying. Go out there, get yourself a copy, and you know what to expect. So recall that Niger is part of this. Let me not even just go out there and get yourself a copy, because when we begin the story, we'll just go deep and before you know it, you won't want to go out there to go and get yourself a copy. It's a star story. Go out there, go get yourself a copy. Now we have a story here that says very short story here that says Wike mocks Fubara as groups threatens pipeline attacks. Wike mocks Fubara as group threatens pipeline attacks. Well, Rivers State, of course, we've had a Igbosu coming out to speak on even these issues. But let's see how that plays out. You can go and read the copy for yourself and also know what's going on in the country to get punched this morning. Alright, so we have diphtheria. Death toll hits 1,319. Diphtheria death toll hits 1,319. You can go out there and see for yourself which state is the most affected with the diphtheria disease or infection. You can go out there and get yourself a copy to see our tabular framework of how it is spreading across states. And of course, we hope that with all of this, the Center for Disease Control in Nigeria should be able to mitigate some of these challenges. But let's move on to the next here. Beside the star story, we have Elders attacks, tension in Ondo communities, and Amotekun plans counter operations. In Ondo State, there's a tension over attacks in Ondo State and Amotekun. In case you don't know who Amotekun is or who they are rather, Amotekun happens to be the local vigilante group that was set up in the southwestern part of Nigeria to secure their farms, secure other properties, and also serve as an assistance to the various security operatives that we have in the various states, from the civil defense to the Nigerian police and other sister security agency, just to give first-hand information and be able to exchange information. And they've come out to say that ahead of attack, tension in Ondo communities. What's even going on in Ondo community? We heard that there was protest the other day, and some surveyors were also has been allegedly kidnapped in those places. Of course, it has not been confirmed though, but we saw that protest happen in Ondo State. What is has it been confirmed? Is Amotekun taking the right decision at this point? What does the law says? Well, all of this conversation are all inside the Punch newspaper. So go out there and be punchy this morning. Go out there and get yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper to know what's going on. Moonwell Chronicles. Of course, if you're in Lagos or you're born and bred in Lagos, before the year 2007, 2007 to be precise, you will know what they call Moonwell in Lagos. It's a big lorry, it's a bus used in other places as a school bus for picking up and dropping off of school children in other clients. But it's a means of transportation in Nigeria, especially Lagos to be precise. And of course, it's a very fanciful bus. You need to see that those buses, I depend them all in their yellow and black Lagos color. Fascinating. Then you get to see people stand. Of course, Fela Nikolakbo have used that to sing where it says 99 sitting, 49 sitting, 99 standing, and all of those songs like that. But we want to have an idea of what the Moonwell look like. It's a bus that is painted well, but it evolved over time, and Lagos State started using white Moonwells. I don't know the color that they're using right now, but it says this paper here captures iconic Lagos buses where drama chaos comes alive. Yeah, so it's an interesting read. It brings back a lot of fun memories even to me right now, even I'm seated here in the studio. Lagos, Eko Onibaje. You can go out there and read all of that, take a read on that, and you can find that story on page 12 and 13. Imagine the Chronicle of Lagos. Moonwell is taking 2 pages. It's an interesting read. Let me not let you into the conversation too much, so you won't take me for my word the way it is, and not go out there to go and buy the paper to have a read. Go out there, get yourself a copy, and find that read very interesting. I lost my memory when I heard about my son's murder. Father of slain LASU graduate. You can find that story on page 24 of the Punch newspaper. Now lastly, on the Punch newspaper, just at the base, at the foot of the paper, there we have Nigeria's $1.1 billion loan request may be granted soon. World Bank. $1.1 billion loan may be granted soon. How soon will this be granted? What are the conditions for this loan? Are there also things that we need to know, that you need to know about the loan? Of course, I'm reading about this loan, but I won't want to even delve into it right now because I have a lot of papers I want to talk about this morning. But go out there, get yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper, and of course you can get punchy this morning even as you read through happenings across the country. Now let's move on to the next paper here. I have with me here the Nation's newspaper. Yes, the Nation's newspaper, and it's the Nation's Sunday. All right, so it captures above the nameplate here. We have a story that says PDP crisis. Damagum raises the alarm over resignation rumors. PDP crisis. Well, I thought the crisis ended with River State, but PDP has its own internal crisis also. But let's see, it comes to the rider that says that acting chairman blames high place mischief makers. Atiku Wike groups intensify scheming over National Secretary's job. Politics as it is even in PDP. You can go out there and get yourself a copy. Of course, you can find that story on page 4 of the paper. All right, I won't stop Rivers Assembly from performing duties. Nyesom Wike. It comes with a rider that says accuses SSG of instigating crisis, and also it says giving Fubara wrong advice. It says accuses SSG of instigating crisis, giving Fubara wrong advice. You can find that read on page 5 of the Nation's newspaper. Okay, that's another radio that says, another writer that says Kalabari Ijo hosts Wike in style despite protests. Now this is a very interesting read. Prior to this time, we know we've read that there was this threat that Wike shouldn't come for his Thanksgiving even in River State, since it's the one instigating and fueling a lot of those crises in River State. But despite this, the Kalabari Ijo hosts Wike in style despite protests. You want to know what happened in River State? Of course, you can go out there and get yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper. Now we have a star story here that says presidency. Tinubu not worried about 2027, focused on economy. You need to go out there and get yourself a copy. It comes with a two-rider. The first rider says APC applauds Buhari's affirmation of loyalty to party. El-Rufai begs Atiku, Obi Amechi orders to abandon merger, join SDP. It's going to be a very long conversation to ask El-Rufai, Atiku, Obi Amechi and others to abandon merging to now join the Social Democratic Party. How will this play out? Well, I don't know. How will the appeal sound to this man right now? Of course, you recall that Atiku is the People's Democratic Party gubernatorial candidate, and Peter Obi is the gubernatorial candidate for the Labour Party. And also, you know that Amechi has always been in the All Progressive Congress. Now, it seems like it is a conglomeration of three political parties. Although Amechi has not been coming out to speak lately on party issues, but then he's still a card carrying member, last time I checked, of the All Progressive Congress. But let's see how this play out and how the appeal will be received. It's one thing to appeal, is another thing for the appeal, the recessiveness of the appeal. Let's see how that plays out. You can go out and read what you think, and you can begin to look at it, what to expect in 2027. Of course, the presidency have come out to say President Bola Tinubu is not worried, is not bothered at all about the 2027 election. If whatever that means, is it a walkover for him? Is it going to be an election where his antecedents will speak for him, based on the fact, based on the happenings and recent a lot of changes and significant progress the country is making? Let's see how that plays out. You can go out there and get yourself a copy of the Nation's newspaper. All right, so let's move on to something else. It has rollover detainees alleged suicide in custody. Rollover detainees alleged suicide in custody. Go out there and get yourself a copy. Now we have a story here that says, Natasha, this is no attack on women in politics. Nwoko, Natasha, this is no attack on women in politics. Nwoko have come out to say that Natasha, but let's just go out there and get yourself a copy of that. Let me know, because it's a very interesting. Remember, we recall when we started this conversation, we began with Natasha and Akpabio's case and the IPU, and of course you've heard Ibrahim Jimo coming out to say that IPU's case was dead on arrival. Of course, we saw that in the weekend blueprints and all of this conversation. But then go out there and get yourself a copy. Now we have an image story here that says, a picture story that says, can opposition repeat APC's 2025 magic? It has a lot of faces of politicians across the country, from Atiku Abubakar to El Rufai to Peter Obi to Amechi to Kwankwaso, then to Aregbesola and the Adebayo, who happens to be the presidential gubernatorial candidate, or the presidential candidate for the SDP, and all of these politicians' faces were all flashed on the paper. And that's an interesting read. Can opposition repeat APC's 2025 magic? Let's see how that plays out. But that's on the foot of the story of the newspaper. We have US expel South African ambassador, says he hates Trump. Well, I reserve my comment on that. Go out there and get yourself a copy. All right, so let's move on to the next paper. Here we come into the Sunday Telegraph. Yeah, the Sunday Telegraph. It comes with a story here that above the nameplate, it says, Shatima, we are committed to Plateau stability, economic development. We are committed to Plateau's stability, economic development. All of those stories you can find on page 2 of the Sunday's Telegraph. U.S. tariff war will cripple world trade. Ambassador Keshi has come out to say that U.S. tariff war will cripple world trade. It says it comes with a rider here, just one rider, that says terrorism sponsorship allegation against organization not surprising. All right, you can find that read on page 14 and 15 of the Sunday's Telegraph. Of course, just below the nameplate, we have a story here that says Pandef give Wike 24 hours to apologize to Niger Delta leaders. It comes with a rider. Why I am still fighting Fubara minister. All right, it's a good time to say that Edwin Clark will be greatly missed right now, even in the Niger Delta affair, because we believe that elder statesmen should begin to step in and have conversation with both gentlemen, so we can focus on the development of Nigeria, and the good people of Rivers State will enjoy the dividends of democracy. But Pandef giving Wike 24 hours to apologize to Niger Delta leaders. Well, let's see how this will play out. If there will be another form of press briefing and press media chat where we'll get to hear the honorable minister of the federal report of the Federal Capital Territory, what he has to say about this. Will it going to be an open letter, an apology to the Niger Delta leaders, or is it going to be true? Maybe what means will it go, and what are the modalities? Well, we'll get to find out all of this because after 48 hours, we can't speak now till after 48 hours you'll see the apology begin to roll out. But we trust that this will bring a lasting peace and also mutual understanding even to River State and by extension the Niger Delta region. All right, so let's look at the star story here. 2027 opposition returns to drawing board. 2027 opposition returns to drawing board. It comes with a rider. Atiku under pressure to drop ambition. PDP awaits Supreme Court's judgment to rejig. CPC members to follow El Rufai out of APC. Ogunle, where it is difficult to beat Tinubu. All of this are still on the pipeline. Let's see how that plays out. That's a star story. You can find the star story there on page 2 of the Sunday's Telegraph. Now it comes by the side of the Star Story here. We have, just by the right of the Star Story here, we have Kanu clarifies appeals court judgment on Sanusi's reinstatement. Kanu clarifies appeals court judgment on Sanusi's reinstatement. A lot of conflicting stories around that. So we'll get to talk with a lawyer to have put us in proper perspective on the judgment, on the Supreme Court ruling on this particular issue. If it means that the election, if it has been nullified, or there's something that we need to do, we have to put all of this in perspective. So we'll get a senior advocate to talk to us even on this issue in the course of the show. All right, so seminarian murders, Catholic bishop berates government security agencies. All right, you can find that read on page 29. Real reasons food prices are crashing farmers. You want to know why the food prices are crashing? Of course, I don't know how much you're buying right now, a module or a jerrycan of rice in your locality or wherever you are, but it is very interesting to know that the prices of food items in the market are crashing. Even Nigerian is a good one, is a win-win for everybody. What is making the prices of food to crash? You want to find out, of course, you can go out there and get yourself a copy of the Sunday Telegraph. Well, we'll move to the next one here. It says the Guardian Weekend. The Guardian Weekend. It comes above the nameplate here. We have CBN driving 2024-2028 strategy with merit-based appointment. It's coming. You can find that story on page 4 of the Guardian Weekend. Atiku Abubakar as bell tolls for a political minstrel. You can find that story on page 28. At Guardian Women Festival, echoes of financial literacy accelerated investment keep pulsating. You can find that read on page 9 and pages 9 and 10 of the Guardian newspaper. Of course, it comes with a lot of interesting pictures there to show the Guardian Women Festival. That was the last Guardian Women Festival that was held just not too long. All right, so we'll move to the next paper here, which for me we're going to be moving straight to the Weekend Trust here. Weekend Thrust says Kano Emirship Tosso, wait for Supreme Court verdict, justices. Page 11 of the Weekend Trust. FG to US, Christians not target of insurgency in Nigeria. You can find that read on page 11 of the Weekend Trust. Fresh hurdles for Fubara as assembly adjourns indefinitely. Page 11 also of the Weekend Trust. Is Nigeria improving? It comes with the rider. Citizens speak out on living conditions. Well, interesting read. All right, so we have a story here that says heat waves ranges, meningitis, rashes, other diseases on the rise. Avoid sun, take plenty water. Expert. Now that's not just an advice you need to take for granted. It's an advice you need to take seriously, and even more seriously. Of course, the heat out there is something to write home about. Of course, the sun has also the heat wave right now. A lot of doctors have said that this can cause some form of partial stroke and some other form of ailment. But you need to go out there and read some of the impact of this heat wave even on human beings even right now. Please go out there and get yourself a copy of the Weekend Trust to know what's going on in the country. All right, so we'll go straight to the Sunday Times. Yeah, Sunday Times. Now, just below the nameplate here, we have the editorial comment on Masking Rivers power politics. On Masking River power politics, you can find that story on page 4 of the Sunday Times. All right, so we have judicial panel fault Supreme Court judgment on Rivers State appeal. Judicial panel fault judgment on Rivers State appeal. So what would now be the position of the Supreme Court judgment? Can the Supreme Court review its judgment? Can it upturn its judgment as it stands right now, even in Rivers State? Or at that time frame for the Supreme Court to undo itself, for the Supreme Court to reverse its judgment? Of course, you can go out there and see what the judicial panel, what they are faulting in the judgment of the Supreme Court, even in Rivers State. Just go out there and get yourself a copy of the Sunday Times to get to read up on what's going on in Rivers State. We have a picture, an image story here, and also this story, we saw the wife of the president in that picture there, even that's Senator Ruremi Tinubu. You find out there holding the #1 jersey. And we also find uniform personnel there, though I can't identify the face right now, but you can go out there to know who the personnel is. And of course, if the wife of the president, who is the first lady, what is she unveiling using 01? It looks like a jersey, like a football. I don't know if the wife of the president wants to play football. I can't say right now, but it's an interesting read. Go out there and get yourself a copy. All right, we have Trump contemplate travel restrictions for 41 countries. Trump's contemplates travel restrictions for 41 countries. Is Nigeria, South Africa, and Morocco involved in this travel restriction list? I don't know. Go out there and get yourself a copy to see a rundown of some of the countries that will be experiencing Trump's restrictions targets. All right, let's come back to Nelfund. Nelfund disburses over 35 billion to 261,000 students across Nigeria. You can find that read on page 2 of what Nelfund is doing, of course, to get a read on that and stay abreast with it. All right, we have FG committed to Plateau stability, economic development. We've taken that story on. That's what the vice president have said. We have the story. Fubara is not an Ijoman. Fubara is not an Ijoman. You can find that story on page 2. Well, whatever that means. When I read that story, I said Fubara is not an Ijoman, but we saw a lot of interesting conversation. Who said what and how was it said? Have the good people of Ijo in Rivers State come out to now say that the Fubara is not an Ijo man? Well, Wiki have said that Fubara is not an Ijo man. Then we need to ask salient question: what's the criteria for being an Ijo man? Then will being an Ijo or not being an Ijo be the basis for good governance and good leadership in Rivers State? Has this hampered the growth and development of Rivers State? Of course, you can get a hold of this paper and just be able to run through it and know that you are doing justice to the case. Amechi associate mole defection to APC. Amechi associate mole defections to SDP. Amechi associate mole defection to APC. Amechi. All right, let me keep that to myself. Go out and get yourself a copy for you to stay abreast with what's going on even in Rivers State and also the conversation around Amechi. Well, it's a very good time to say thank you so much for being a part of the show. I wish I could take the Sunday Independent, but I'm being signaled right now that it is time to go. But let me just quickly take the Sunday Independent. Please let me just quickly do the Sunday Independent. I'll take that as my last paper for this morning. Okay, so above the nameplate we have winner of Quranic recitation competition, Abdusalam Rabiu Faskari, still alive. Katsina government have come out to say South will be tough for Tinubu in 2027 if Wike remains minister, Pandef youth. You can find that read on page 2 of what Pandef wants and how they are making their stance known. All right, Obi donates 20 million to colleges of nursing in Ahiara and Ihiala. You can find that on page 4 of the Sunday Independent. It comes with a star story here that says, call those heating the polity to order George, Bode George charges FG. It comes with a rider. As Lagos stands still for landmark achievers at Independence Award 2024. Let's not delve into that. We don't have time. All right. So we have here stakeholders call for negotiated settlements in Rivers, just like what we've been calling for even on this table. All right. So 2027 opposition elements still far from target. Analysts. You find that story. You can find that read on page 3 of the Nation's newspaper. Of the Sunday Independent newspaper. I beg your pardon. APC may have sponsored crisis in opposition party and Nike. You can find that read on page 19. Right, lastly here on the foot of the paper we have Kakol condemn silencing unjust suspension of Senator Natasha. An interesting read. You can find that read on page 6 of the Sunday's Independent newspaper. Well, this is how far we can go even this morning on Global Morning here on Global Television. I still remain Godwin Sunday, and I want to encourage you to please do well to follow us on all our social media platforms currently displayed on the screen right now. You can follow us by going straight to @Global TV NG to be part of the conversation, and you can also download the Global TV mobile app to keep track of our broadcasts. Should you want to do that right away, just go to your Android and iOS devices and type in Global Television Nigeria. Of course, your app will come up and you can download it and keep track of our daily broadcasts. So I come your way again, even on the Global Morning. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. From all of us here on the Global Morning train, it's bye for now.